You are already filed as replaceable inventory, not a person with rare value, a unit that can be reached on demand. Your predictability is the tag they read before they even speak to you. In every court, the first question is never, "Who are you?" It's, "How hard are you to reach?" The moment access to you is free, they stop guarding your place. They don't need to defend what they can summon. They don't secure what they can borrow without payment. You confuse closeness with importance, and they translate it as low leverage. When you answer fast, show up early, fill the empty seat, take the extra task, you aren't proving loyalty. You are announcing that your time is surplus. Surplus is not protected. Surplus is used until it's replaced. Watch the room when a name is mentioned. Some names cause a pause, others cause a shrug. The pause comes from uncertainty. Will they respond? Will they appear? What will it cost to get their attention? That uncertainty creates value. Your name does the opposite. Your name triggers certainty. They know you'll pick up. They know you'll agree. They know you'll make it work. And certainty is cheap. Put yourself at work. The meeting ends, everyone stands, and the real decisions happen in the hallway. You drift behind them, still available, still smiling, still open. Someone says, "Can you handle this?" Not because you are chosen, but because you are present. You accept immediately, and the room learns the rule. Your consent has no price. 2 weeks later, your contribution is mentioned without your name. Credit moves like property in a conquered town toward whoever appears costly to offend. You are not costly, so they don't protect you. They don't even fight you. They root around you. It never looks like an attack. It looks like efficiency. A message comes in at 10,007. You answer at 10,008. The next time it comes at 10,007, the response they expect is still 10,008. Soon, the messages stop being requests and become instructions. No, could you, need this, and you comply because you've trained them that there's no difference. When the promotion discussion happens, your reliability is praised with the same tone used for a sturdy chair. Useful, stable, replaceable. The chair does not get a seat at the table. The chair gets moved. Then you carry the same pattern into attraction. You text back instantly. You adjust your schedule. You keep your evenings open like a storefront. At first it feels like momentum. They call you easy to talk to. They say they love how consistent you are. That is the false relief. You mistake their comfort for devotion. You don't notice the shift. Their effort disappears while yours increases. They no longer fear losing you, because losing you would cost them nothing. A prince does not reward what he can command. He rewards what he must negotiate for. So the delays begin, not dramatic, small. A reply that used to come in minutes now comes in hours. A plan that was once confirmed now remains vague. A Friday night becomes maybe. You accept maybe because you are still available. And once you accept maybe, your position downgrades without any argument. They don't need to break you. They reclassify you. Convenience, background, option. Socially, it's even quieter. Invitations thin out like a resource being rationed. You see the photos after. You hear the stories secondhand. Nobody confronts you because replacement doesn't require a speech. It requires a substitute. Someone else appears who does not stand by. Someone else responds when it suits them. Someone else is not always reachable, and that absence forces others to treat their attention like a prize rather than a habit. Machiavelli watched cities fall the same way, not with a single battle, but through slow transfers of loyalty as people moved toward whoever seemed harder to take. You tell yourself you're being mature. You tell yourself that being low maintenance makes you desirable. Another false relief. It feels noble to be easy. It feels clean to be available. But what it really does is erase the cost of neglecting you. When access is free, respect becomes optional. When your presence is guaranteed, protecting your place becomes unnecessary. Men do not treasure what they can always retrieve. They guard what can be lost. Over months, the demotion becomes your identity. They don't describe you as powerful or necessary. They describe you as always there. That phrase is not affectionate, it is a burial. It means you have been converted into infrastructure, seen only when missing, valued only when failing, ignored when functioning. The dominant are unreachable by default. Their absence shapes behavior. The submissive stands by and calls it loyalty, while everyone else reads it as dependence. The arena doesn't matter. Work, love, friendship, opportunity, each one obeys the same brutal arithmetic. The more you show up, the less they must pay. They won't announce the replacement. They'll stop investing. Fewer replies, fewer calls, fewer invitations, fewer chances. You'll feel it like a temperature drop, not a breakup, and by the time you notice, the role is already filled. You don't get replaced because you're bad. You get replaced because you're easy. At work, your value isn't measured by how much you can do. It's measured by what it costs to get you to do it. You walk in thinking availability makes you indispensable. That's the illusion that keeps the machine quiet. The truth is simpler. When your response is guaranteed, your importance collapses into utility. You become the default patch. The person the system leans on because the system doesn't fear consequences from you. Look at the micro moments. The Slack ping that comes in at 6:41 p.m. The quick favor dropped into your inbox with no subject line. The meeting that ends with someone saying, "Can you just handle it?" while already turning away. You answer fast because you've taught them that your time is always open for capture, and once they learn that, they stop asking like you have a choice. That's how reliable mutates into expendable. Reliability is praised when it's rare. When it's free, it's harvested. They don't protect what they can extract without negotiation. So the extra work flows to you, not because you're trusted, but because you're accessible. Meanwhile, credit travels upward and outward toward the people whose attention is difficult to obtain. In every hierarchy, visibility follows scarcity. Your output becomes background noise. You'll notice the pattern during promotion cycles. The manager compliments you in private. You're solid. You're a rock. It sounds like status, but it's a cage. Publicly, the conversation shifts to someone else, the one who owns a project. The one who is strategic, the one who is hard to pin down. They'll call that person busy. They'll call you dependable. Busy is interpreted as power. Dependable is interpreted as available labor. Watch the dominant colleagues. Their replies arrive late, not because they're careless, but because delay signals demand. They create controlled bottlenecks. Their calendars are packed. Getting 10 minutes with them feels like winning something. Management adjusts around their absence because their absence incurs costs. Your absence doesn't. You've made sure of that. You are on emotional readiness on standby, a resource that never refuses to be scheduled. Then comes the quiet test. A new hire appears, or an external contractor. Suddenly, their time is treated like property. Meetings are moved to accommodate them. Tasks are scoped to protect them. Their inbox isn't flooded with quick questions. Yours is. Yours stays the overflow channel because everyone already knows you'll catch what spills. You see it in how work is routed. The director stops looping you in on early conversations, not as punishment, as efficiency. They go to the person who is harder to reach because that person's involvement is perceived as valuable. You're brought in later, when the plan is already decided, when the only thing left is execution. You become hands, not authority. And management never announces a replacement. They tried it. They root around you once, then twice. They assign a piece of your territory to someone new to see if anything breaks. When nothing breaks, because you still patch everything they learned, they can do it again. The machine doesn't honor the one who prevents failure. It simply assumes they will. This is the workplace truth Machiavelli would recognize immediately. Power gathers where access is rationed. Your constant availability doesn't make you indispensable. It makes you the cheapest resource. In status games, the reachable are labor, the unreachable are authority. In attraction, your attention is not judged by how sincere it feels. It's judged by what it costs her to get it. You answer the moment her name lights up your phone. You treat each message like a summons. That speed feels like strength to you, like commitment, like proof you're serious. To her, it reads differently. It reads as low demand, as an empty room, as a man whose attention is not negotiated, only collected. It starts clean. The first week, she's warm. She replies fast. She says she likes how consistent you are. That's the false relief. Consistency sounds like intimacy. It sounds like momentum. But consistency without price becomes a guarantee, and guarantees don't create tension. They erase it. Tension is where selection happens. Without it, you're not chosen. You're simply available. Then the downgrades arrive without a single insult. A message that used to be a paragraph becomes 2 words. Haha, yeah. A heart becomes an emoji that means nothing. She doesn't argue. She doesn't confront. She reduces investment while keeping access. You feel the shift, but you can't name it without exposing yourself. Any complaint reveals dependence. Any demand reveals you've been standing by. Notice what she stops doing. She stops securing you. Plans become soft. Maybe Friday. Then Friday comes and it turns into, I'm so tired, not a fight. A gentle cancellation that leaves no evidence. The next time, she doesn't cancel, she delays. She answers late enough to keep the night uncertain, late enough to keep you waiting. And you cooperate. You clear your schedule. You hover near your phone. You tell yourself she's busy because the alternative is admitting you've been priced as cheap attention. You become predictable, and predictability is a leash. She learns the simple truth about you. You can be retrieved at any time. When she can reach you without cost, she stops protecting your place in her mind. She doesn't need to lock you down. She can reopen you whenever she wants. A prince doesn't fortify a town that already opens its gates. Watch the social moments where power becomes visible. You're with her in a group, laughing at something you didn't hear, trying to stay close without looking like you're chasing. She picks up her phone and tilts the screen away. A name flashes. Not yours. She smiles differently for a second, then returns to you, as if returning to a song she already knows. She doesn't announce the rival. She introduces him indirectly. It's a story in passing. This guy is so random. A mention of someone who travels a lot, who never checks his phone, who just disappears. The details don't matter. The effect does. His absence creates a problem she wants to solve. His silence creates a gap she wants to close. She starts treating his attention like a prize and yours like a refill. You become the emotional standby, the confirmation source, the one she can test moods with, vent to, lean on, and then leave on read when the real pull arrives. Your consistency becomes the safety net beneath her risk. And safety nets aren't kissed first, they're used last. You'll feel it in the smallest humiliations. Shorter replies, delayed plans, soft cancellations with sweet words. You're downgraded without being dismissed, because keeping you costs her nothing. You made sure of that. The one who is always available is never chosen first, only last. Friendship isn't a sanctuary, it's an alliance market. And in every market, the one who offers unlimited access is not honored. He's priced. You mistake your availability for loyalty. You think showing up proves you belong. What it really proves is that nothing else is demanding you. No competing claims, no rival invitations. No schedule that forces anyone to bargain. You become the friend who can be summoned without strategy. And once they can summon you, they stop treating you like a position that needs protection. You see it in how they contact you, not with plans, with needs. A call at midnight. Bro, I need a ride. A text with no greeting. Can you spot me? A long voice note full of chaos that ends with, "You're the only one I can talk to." They pull you in for crises because crises require a tool that works on demand. Then Friday comes, and you're not in the photos, not because they hate you, because celebration is status, and status is reserved for people whose presence feels earned. The downgrading is quiet. It's never announced. It's signaled. You hear about the dinner afterward. You learn about the trip when the stories go up. You see the group laughing somewhere you weren't invited to, and the excuse arrives later, casual, almost careless. "Oh, I thought you were busy." That line is never about your schedule. It's about their assumption that you'll accept being an afterthought. The pain you feel isn't a mistake. It's information. You were never core. In Machiavelli's world, alliances are maintained by advantage, not sentiment. So pay attention to where your advantage is placed. You are not the friend whose opinion shapes decisions. You are the friend who absorbs consequences, the emergency contact, the problem solver, the one who keeps the machine running while others enjoy the rewards. Watch how dominant friends move. They have scarcity. They have a calendar. They miss calls. They respond late. They don't explain where they've been. And because their time is treated as property, people pursue them. Invitations are sent early. Seats are saved. Their absence creates a cost, so the group protects its place. You do the opposite. You hover. You offer. You confirm. You're always ready, always agreeable, always nearby. That posture doesn't create closeness. It creates consumption. They don't defend what they can replace. They don't chase what waits. Then comes the social upgrade. Someone in the group meets higher status people, new rooms open, different parties, different circles. The language changes, networking, events, good vibes, and suddenly the group's loyalty shifts toward whoever can grant access. This is not betrayal, it's gravity. Alliances follow opportunity. You're still there though. They don't cut you off. They store you. They keep you for errands, for moving furniture, for venting after a fight, for late-night rides, for tasks that require reliability but offer no prestige. Your number stays saved because you're useful, not because you're valued. You become the old, dependable piece of equipment they don't showcase but refuse to throw away until a better tool arrives. You'll feel the final humiliation in how you're treated at the edges. They call you real when they need something. They call you busy when they're celebrating. You are present for damage control and absent for victory laps. And if you ever question it, you expose yourself. You reveal you've been waiting for a seat that was never yours. In alliances, the one who is always available isn't trusted. He's stored. So you panic and try to adapt. You decide the problem is that you were too available, so you swing to the other extreme. You start manufacturing distance like it's power. You stop replying fast. You let messages sit. You become busy on purpose. Not because your life is full, but because you want them to think it is. That's the first mistake. You think scarcity is a pose. You stare at the screen and count hours like a man counting coins he doesn't own. You draft replies, delete them, rewrite them. You watch the scene receipt like it's a verdict. You tell yourself you're in control, but control doesn't require this much attention. If your absence demands constant calculation, it isn't dominance, it's surveillance. You're still chained. You just moved the chain inside your head. And you start signaling, posting a story at the exact time you know they'll see it, dropping a photo of a laptop, a gym mirror, a night skyline. Nothing real. Just prove you want them to notice. You don't build distance, you advertise it. You perform busyness like a man acting rich while checking his account every hour. People detect that instantly, not because they're wise, because power has a smell. Real scarcity is effortless. It costs nothing to maintain because it's true. Your scarcity costs you everything because you're faking it. At work, the shift reads like an attitude. You delay responses and call it boundaries. They call it unreliability. The moment you stop being the default patch, the machine doesn't mourn you, it reroutes. The urgent tasks go somewhere else. The hallway decisions happen without you. No one asks why you're quiet. They adjust. And once they adjust, you're not missed, you're replaced. In attraction, your silence doesn't create tension. It creates suspicion. She doesn't think he must be valuable. She thinks he's reacting. She feels the edge in it, the sudden chill, the artificial delay. So she tests you harder, a message designed to provoke, a soft accusation disguised as a joke. You're so busy now. She watches if you flinch, if you explain, if you rush to prove you're not hurt. And you do. You always do. Even when you don't reply, your mind replies for hours. You are still reachable, just not in a way that earns respect. With friends, your manufactured distance reads as resentment. You stop hovering, but you don't replace it with anything real. You don't become scarce, you become awkward. You show up less, yet still monitor everything. You check who's together. You notice who liked what. You wait for the invite you claim you don't want. Then you act indifferent when it doesn't come. So they stop offering. Not out of cruelty, out of clarity. Your absence isn't mysterious. It's loud. It says you're keeping score. That energy poisons rooms. People don't chase a man who feels like a complaint. They move around him, and the worst part is what happens inside you. You become a slave to timing. You measure your worth in delays. You interpret every silence a strategy. You turn your life into a lab experiment where you are both the subject and the god. The more you try to look untouchable, the more touchable you become, because the same people still capture your attention. You aren't withdrawing because you're powerful. You're withdrawing because you want a reaction. That's why the punishment comes from every direction at once. Work bypasses you. She tests you. Friends stop inviting you. Your scarcity doesn't raise your value. It reveals your dependence. You tried to become untouchable, but you're still reachable, just quieter. If you keep living like this, it doesn't become a pattern, it becomes a rank. At first, it's just a habit, always answering, always showing up, always being ready. After 5 years, it hardens into a reputation, not the reputation you want, the one you can't argue with, because you built it with thousands of small surrenders. You become the reliable one. That phrase sounds like respect when it's said to your face. In the system, it becomes a label that tells everyone how to treat you. Reliable means you'll absorb friction. Reliable means you'll take the late call. Reliable means you can be scheduled last because you'll adjust. And once a network learns you adjust, it stops adjusting for you. You watch it happen at work first. New managers arrive. New teams form. The org chart shifts like the weather. The scarce names stay in the conversation because people compete for their time. Those are the nodes, the ones who can say no without paying a price. Your name stays in the execution layer, passed along like a tool that's always on the desk. When a new project begins, you're not asked for vision, you're asked for coverage. When the credit is assigned, you're not in the narrative, you're in the footnote. And the cruel part is how clean it looks. No conflict, no termination, no dramatic exclusion. Just a slow rerouting of the future away from you. Then it spreads into relationships. Partners don't leave you in a blaze. They outgrow you in silence. You become the one who accommodates, the one who reassures, the one who keeps things stable while their attention drifts toward what feels more costly, more uncertain, more alive. Your consistency doesn't create legacy. It creates predictability. Predictability gets managed, not cherished. You'll become the person who is good to have, which is a polite way of saying you are not fought for. The family learns the same lesson. You're the first call for errands. The default babysitter, the one who can handle it. The moment there's a crisis, your phone rings. The moment there's a celebration, you're informed late, as if your presence is assumed, not invited. You start showing up to events already in motion. slipping into the background like furniture. You're not resentful, you're used. That's worse because it feels normal. Friendships decay the same way. Circles rotate. People marry, move, upgrade, and chase status. New rooms open. You're not removed from the group chat. You're still there, watching. But the real plans happen elsewhere. You find out through posts, through after stories, through casual mentions that land like a quiet slap. You're still a friend, technically, but you're no longer in the future they're building. You belong to an older version of the network, the one they're replacing. That's the long-term cost, narrative control. Dominant figures become scarce nodes. Their time is bid for. Their absence changes schedules. When they enter a room, attention reorganizes. They don't need to chase their place because the cost of losing it defends their place. Over time, you become an open tap. Useful, cheap, forgettable. People don't speak your name when they talk about what's next. They speak your name when something breaks. And after enough years, the label becomes self-sustaining. New people meet you and instantly know where to place you, because others have already placed you. You don't get the chance to renegotiate. They've inherited the story. You're the one who's always there, always available, always fine, always ready. Your options shrink, not because you're incapable, but because the world stops offering you positions that require respect. Replacement becomes structural. New teams, new partners, new circles, new futures. You aren't fired from them. You're not included in the next version. After enough years, people don't replace you. They replace the world you thought you belonged to. By now you've seen it, and that's what makes it worse. It isn't a bad week. It isn't one person. It's a signature you drag through every arena like a scent. Instant access, reduced investment, silent downgrade, effortless replacement. That sequence doesn't change because the people change. It repeats because the role stays the same. Your role, the one you keep offering. At work, you think your intentions should matter. You think being a team player should buy protection. But power doesn't reward intention. Power rewards leverage. They don't care that you mean well when the deadline hits. They care that you can be reached without cost. So your phone becomes a tool, your inbox becomes a pipeline, your name becomes a default assignment. The system learns it can take from you without negotiation. And once it learns that, it stops paying you in status. You're useful, not defended. And usefulness without defense is just supply. Then you carry that same signature into attraction. You tell yourself your attention is sincere. You think consistency should create intimacy. But selection is not a moral court. It's a market. Your availability doesn't read as devotion. It reads as excess. She doesn't need to secure what she can retrieve anytime. She could delay you, test you, cancel softly, and you'll still be there because your presence has become predictable. Predictable attention is cheap attention. Cheap attention is easily replaced. Friendship follows the same logic, only quieter. You show up for crises, you answer calls, you cover gaps, and you call it loyalty. They call it convenience. Celebrations are reserved for the pursued. Emergencies are given to those who are reachable. You become the emergency contact, not the inner circle. The group upgrades socially, and you remain in the old version of their lives, kept for errands, dropped for status. No one needs to betray you. They only need to optimize around you. And if you try to protest, you trap yourself. The moment you ask, "Why wasn't I invited?" you reveal you were watching. The moment you say, "You've been distant," you admit you were waiting. The moment you demand recognition at work, you confess you need their approval to feel real. In Machiavelli's world, every complaint from a weak position is a gift to the stronger one. It confirms the hierarchy. It tells them you're invested and they are not. That's the most humiliating part. You can feel the label forming around you, and you can't tear it off without showing how tightly it's stuck. Once you're tagged as easy to replace, Every action is interpreted through that lens. If you stay available, it confirms your supply. If you withdraw, it looks like resentment. If you act calm, it looks like you're coping. If you act angry, it looks like you're dependent. Even your silence is read as a tactic. You lose narrative control because you surrendered access control first. Dominant actors ration access and shape the story. Submissive actors offer access and beg for a story that keeps them safe. Scarcity is not a personality trait. It's the language of authority. It forces investment because it creates risk. Risk makes people protect their positions. Risk makes people negotiate. Risk makes people remember. Your constant availability removes risk, so they stop investing. They stop protecting. They stop remembering. And you keep hoping malice is the reason, because malice would mean you mattered. But replacement doesn't require hatred. It doesn't require conflict. It doesn't even require a decision. Systems optimize. People choose what costs less. They route around friction. They move toward the path of least resistance, and you made yourself the smoothest path in the room. That's why it happens everywhere. Work teaches them you're overflowing. Attraction teaches them you're retrievable. Friendship teaches them you're stored. Each arena reinforces the next until your reputation precedes you like a warning label. They don't need to hate you to discard you. They only need to reach you. You don't get to call it kindness anymore, not after this. Availability isn't love. It isn't loyalty. It isn't generosity. It's a declaration of low bargaining power, a signal you've been broadcasting so long that people stopped questioning it. They built their behavior around it the way a court builds around a weak gate, not with hatred, but with certainty. You kept waiting for someone to notice your value as if recognition arrived late, like justice. That fantasy dies here. They already noticed. They noticed your price. They noticed that your time can be purchased with a notification, a vague promise, a quick favor, or a soft apology. They learned your attention is the cheapest thing in the room, and once a man is priced, he is treated accordingly. This is why the downgrade never comes with drama. They don't need to fight you. They don't need to insult you. They stop investing. Your phone stays quiet when plans are made. Your name is skipped when decisions begin. Your presence is assumed when labor is needed. That's not cruelty. That's organization. Machiavelli would call it what it is. The strong protect what costs them to lose, and they spend what costs them nothing. And the most punishing detail is this: your replacement is never personal. It's logistical. A new hire with protected time. A man she can't predict. A friend with higher status access. Each one doesn't have to be better than you. They only have to be harder to obtain, because difficulty forces respect. Scarcity forces negotiation. Your availability removes both, and the world doesn't reward what's easy. You can feel the fork closing in now. Not a choice between good and bad. A choice between discomfort and disappearance. Stay as you are, and the next replacement is already being prepared. Quietly, efficiently, without malice. You'll notice it in small omissions, a meeting you aren't looped into, a plan you hear about afterward, a message that never gets answered. The future will continue to form without you, and you'll remain nearby, useful, familiar, ignored. But if you change, comfort dies too. Scarcity has a social cost. It creates friction. It creates questions. People who benefited from your access will test you. Some will punish you. Some will leave. Not because you became worse, but because you stopped being easy. Either way, the life you've been living, the soft, compliant safety of being reachable, doesn't survive. That's the border. On one side, you are sought. Your time is negotiated with. Your presence is earned. On the other hand, you are accessed, assigned, and reassigned. Not because you're worthless, but because you behave like a resource that never runs out. You wanted to be valued for your intentions. The world values leverage. You wanted to be remembered for your loyalty. The world remembers cost. You wanted them to see what you bring eventually. They saw it, they priced it, they built a system that assumes it. If you remain easy to reach, you remain easy to replace.